Good morning and welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham, and today's show is presented by Manscaped. Want to join the Smooth Sack Summer? Get started with Manscaped today. 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com. Plugging in promo code BEARS20 for the best men's grooming products that are out there. The Bears have made a roster cut as they have waived edge Carson Taylor this morning, the defensive lineman getting released after, quite frankly, having a good OTAs and minicamp period, but that did not translate to training camp as he was very quiet. I'm not even sure if he even got into the game on Saturday against the Chiefs. If he did not do anything at all. We haven't heard his name since training camp began, really, so this isn't really surprising. And the reason they're making this cut right now is all NFL teams have to trim their roster down to 85 players by Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So Carson Taylor, the first one to go. That would leave the Bears at 89 players. Got to cut four more players by tomorrow. And then next week, another 5 players are going to go as you got to get down to 80 players by next Tuesday. And then obviously the final one will get you down to a 53-man roster. So on today's show, I'm going to have 10 more cut candidates that could be on the way out the door. But before we get there, let me know. It's a business. It's tough times. Name a player that you think the Bears should go ahead and cut from their roster. Let's hear it from you guys, and then we'll take a look at 10 more guys that could be on their way out the door. All right, let's start with Lamar Jackson. Yes, the Bears' Lamar Jackson, who actually had an okay training camp up to this point, but man, he really struggled on Saturday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Got beaten coverage a few times, missed 2 tackles, one which really stood out on a ball thrown into the flat to one of the Chiefs running backs. Kind of just wailed his shoulder into him, back bounced off easily, and that is not the hits principle. Got to wrap up and finish the play. You know, Matt Eberflus and Alan Williams were not going to be happy with that one. Not saying he's going to be a part of these roster cuts, but that did not help his cause to try and make this football team. Keep an eye on Lamar Jackson moving forward. Kevin Shaa, the rookie undrafted free agent receiver out of Liberty, just hasn't done much. With a lot of receivers banged up and out right now, he should have had opportunities to make plays in practice and in the game. 2 targets, no catches against the Chiefs. Hasn't stood out in practice. I think his roster spot is very much in doubt at this point. Jayson Stanley, a couple-year veteran DB who left the game against the Chiefs with an injury. I am not sure how severe that injury is at this point in time, but it's a crowded secondary right now. It was already going to be an uphill battle for Stanley. Maybe this could be an IR stash situation, or put him on IR, then release him with an injury settlement, something like that. But don't think he's got really any chance of making the 53, and if the Bears already know that, if he's banged up right now, he could just be a guy to go ahead and part ways with. More players to take a look at in a moment, but I want to shout out Manscaped, the best men's grooming products on the market, because the Lawnmower 4.0, this product right here, it's going to keep your sack nice and smooth. It's Smooth Sack Summer because it's hot as hell outside and you want to be nice and trimmed down there. Otherwise, it's going to get gnarly when you're going on your run, you're working out, whatever the case may be. Stay nice and trimmed with the lawnmower. It's got a ton of nice features, advanced skin care technology, wireless charging station. You can use it in the shower as well. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Stay nice and smooth with Manscaped. Link in the comments in the description. Promo code BEARS20 to get that 20% off. All right, Tuggle, who played a little bit in garbage time against Kansas City in the fourth quarter. He looked actually okay. The problem is there's just too many backs here, guys. I mean, we know David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Treston Ebner are pretty much locks to make this football team. So is fullback Kari Blasingame. Darrington Evans actually looked pretty good, so he's definitely ahead of Tuggle. So if anything, Evans is the back on the bubble. I just don't see an avenue for Tuggle to make the 53. Maybe he survives this first set of roster cuts, but between now and week 1, I do not expect him to be on this 53-man roster. Now, a question that could be emerging following the first preseason game, who should be RB2? Khalil Herbert or Trestan Ebner? Ebner definitely outplayed Herbert. Herbert had a drop, which, by the way, shout out Khalil Herbert at practice this morning. Got out there early, was working on the jugs machines to make sure he can catch the football better, but he did not play that well. Trestan Ebner did play really pretty well. So at this point, who is RB2? Type K for Khalil Herbert, TE for Trestan Ebner. For now, it's going to be Khalil Herbert, but keep an eye on the rookie Ebner. If he continues to show out, he could be moving up the depth chart. All right, John Delance, offensive lineman who just haven't heard much about, to be honest. And when you start trimming at the back end from 90 to 85, you got to find guys that haven't stood out at all. And I would say he is in that category. He could be a player that gets cut sometime in the next 24 hours. Make sure you guys subscribe to us here at Chicago Bears Now, as we're going to continue to bring you the latest news and rumors throughout the season. Football is back. Training camp is ongoing. Injuries are popping up. By the way, practice is ongoing right now. Some guys have returned to practice. We'll have a second video this afternoon. More updates coming out of Hallis Hall, so be sure to subscribe and join us for that, as we've been bringing you 2 videos per day, several days per week. All right, 5 more Bears cut candidates. Nsimba Webster, who was kind of on the practice squad, bounced up and down last year for the Bears. His best attribute is probably as a return specialist, and he's not even your leading returner right now. Had a really bad drop, too, on a simple catch in this game as well. That's not good when you're already a little bit buried on the wide receiver depth chart. He's got to make more plays. When you get these chances, when you're deeper on the depth chart, when you have a chance, you got to make plays. Kind of similar to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson got the start in this game and did not deliver, just did not play well. I think the same with Nsimba Webster. Got to play some snaps and just didn't really stand out at all. So I think he could be in trouble. You look at the wide receiver room right now, Velus Jones Jr., Dante Pettis back and healthy. Jones actually practiced today. Pettis actually was able to play in the game. But, I mean, where's Nsimba Webster going to crack this roster? I just don't see a path for him. So him and Kevin Shaa definitely on the outside looking in. How many wide receivers will the Bears carry on the 53-man roster when the final cuts are made? How many receivers will they have? 5, 6, that's usually how many most teams carry. No more than 7, no less than 5. That's usually kind of the range for most rosters. Let me know what you guys think, how many they will carry. All right, Dieter Eiselen, who, he's been around for a couple of years. He was a, South African, good, UDFA edition a couple of years ago. Good story. He's developed some, but, he's primarily a center, and you've got, yes, Lucas Patrick is injured, and yes, Sam Mustipher and Doug Kramer aren't great, but they're all ahead of Eiselen. He's kind of center number 4. I just don't see how he makes this team. Greg Stroman, the defensive back who they added this offseason, just hasn't done much, hasn't stood out, can make some plays on special teams, but his path to the roster seems a little bit tricky. We'll keep an eye on this one, especially with some additions to the roster recently in the defensive back room. Noah Dawkins, the linebacker. Now, I will say linebacker's a pretty thin position right now, but when you think about a guy like Jack Sanborn, the UDFA, just balling out, that's already another guy that Dawkins is behind. Now, he's just falling behind at this point. I don't see where he fits into this linebacker room. Obviously, with Roquan out, you don't have a ton of bodies there, but I think Noah Dawkins is behind Jack Sanborn, Nick Morrow, Matt Adams, Joe Thomas, Caleb Johnson. I don't see where he fits in. And then Rysen John, who played a decent amount on Saturday because the Bears' top 3 tight ends all sat out, and Cole Kmet, Ryan Griffin, and James O'Shaughnessy. By the way, Kmet and Griffin back at practice today, or O'Shaughnessy back at practice today. Not sure if Griffin is, but tight end 5 right now. Maybe he's competing with Chase Allen for tight end 4, who actually didn't play that well, so maybe he could be on this list also. But Rysen John, a player that could get cut between now and tomorrow afternoon. So there you go, 10 Chicago Bears cut candidates that could be on the way out between now and tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time. If you made it this far in the video, you guys know what to do. The real ones watch the entire video here at Chicago Bears Now. And what's the motto? FGB. It stands for F Green Bay. You guys should know what the letter F stands for at this point in time. So get FGB spamming down in the comments. If you made it to the end, you are a real one. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe as well, and we will have a second video later this afternoon.